Hey everybody, I am just popping in today to talk about two of my favorite tools. This is kind of a request from my friend Albina, who wanted to know a little bit more about the food chopper, how to make good use of it. So hey Albina, I hope you watch this at some point. And I'm going to talk about this versus this. So food chopper versus manual food processor. They're both great tools. Which one's going to make the best sense for you just depends on how you're going to use it. So just going to show you a couple of tips and tricks with each one too, and then hopefully you figure out which one's the best one for you. Okay, food chopper. We've had this forever. Don't mess with perfection. This is just one of those tools that's always been good for Pampered Chef, always going to be good for Pampered Chef. It's very simple. Okay, just a few pieces, one big blade that zigzags back and forth. Okay, this piece is going to keep the food from sticking to the blade as it's going up and down. Okay, that's just kind of clearing the way for more food to be chopped. And then this collar holds everything together. Now, one thing that happens quite often, I get people telling me that they've broken this piece. And yeah, if it falls on the floor, it might break or whatever. But quite often what happens is it doesn't quite get threaded correctly. And if you don't thread it correctly, then it might, well, I'll show you. Okay, I don't know if this is going to show up at all, but there's a tiny little thread on both opposite sides of this, and that's where the collar fits into place. And it just slides right in there. What you should see when you've got it in place is that it's completely even all the way around. This little seam is nice and straight. A lot of times I think what happens is you're working a little fast and you kind of get this off kilter. So like one side will be threaded, and no, I can't do it to save my life. One side will be threaded, there we go, and the other side won't. So I don't know if you can see that, but this little gap is not even anymore, because this side is not threaded in like it's supposed to be. It's a real easy oversight, and if you're working fast and doing a million other things in the kitchen, it would be easy to miss this. It's worth checking though, because what happens if you use the chopper like this is the little plastic part of the thread may snap because there's too much pressure on it, or you're going to gouge the sides of this with your blade because it's not straight. Or the whole thing will just crack depending on how hard you're chopping. So first of all, if you have that issue and you have a crack or a chip or a missing thread on your collar, that part is replaceable. You don't need to get a whole new chopper, although fine if you do, but you can just, if you've got the rest of the pieces, you can replace this part. So anyway, just worth it to double check and make sure you've got that threaded properly. And basically, if it won't pull back apart, it's fine. And this little cup comes with it, okay, just nice and sealed up for storage. But this is also kind of a work surface for you. You have some choices when you're using the food chopper. You can put your food in the cup and chop there, okay. Oops, I'm going to make sure you can see this. The more you hit the chopper, the finer the chop. So this is a little tip. If you're doing something where you've got things you want to sprinkle out, take the chopper apart this way so you've got the cup and you can just use this to distribute your food. So I've got like a coarse chop at this point. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to make sure I have it threaded properly, which I just didn't. That's how easy it is to do that. And if you're having a bad day. Okay, so now I've gone to pulverizing, okay? I've got very, very finely chopped veggies. So you stop wherever you want to in that process to get it the way you want it. You've got complete control, in other words, of how your veggies come out, okay? So yeah, there's my little teeny tiny carrots, okay? You don't have to use this cup though. If you've got a lot of chopping to do, the easiest thing is to lay things out on your cutting board and put as much will fit underneath the chopper at a time. Chop that, and then move to the next and chop that. You can work over your whole surface that way, and you don't have to keep stopping and unloading and reloading and so forth. And the cool thing about that is if you are looking for a particular size, so you need like this kind of a chop. If this took me 10 chops to get it this size, this batch will take about 10 chops too. So you can really kind of lose yourself and just, you know, 10 chops, 10 chops, 10 chops, 10 chops. It's very consistent. You don't have to pay a lot of attention, in other words, okay? So there's that. This will chop most every kind of vegetable. Doesn't do a good job with green onions because there's just too many little slippery layers in there for this to go through. It's kind of more effort than it's worth. And real mushy tomatoes, not going to go through here unless you don't mind tomato puree all over your cutting board. You can also chop nuts. You can chop cookies and graham crackers and things like that for crusts, candy to, you know, top ice cream or whatever you want to do. And the other thing that happens, there's just a couple things that, like troubleshooting, you know, issues you might have with it. It's very easy to kind of get overzealous and put too much underneath here. I'm going to try to do this. Yeah, when you hit the chopper, if it stays down like that, it just means you've got too much stuff in there. So take a little bit out and then go back to work. Okay, that's all that is. And the other thing is, if you're finding that you're not really chopping, you know, if it's just not, this is not easy to do, but I know some people are very careful with their chopper. You don't have to be. Sorry, that's really loud. My dog just sat up. Don't be shy with it. The harder you hit it, the more likely you are to get through everything. If you've got something like a pepper or a tomato that's got the skin that you have to get through as well, you really want to hit it to get through there. And another tip with that is put it skin side up. So if you've got a pepper, skin side up, you go through the skin first as opposed to hitting it at the bottom and then kind of, if you're not hitting really hard, kind of sliding that skin instead of cutting through it. So skin side up. Tomato, I would say probably do the other way or cut the tomato in rings. If it's a firm tomato, it doesn't matter what you do. Same thing with a good firm pepper. No matters at all. But if it's seen better days like this one has, maybe cut the tomato into slabs, and so that the skin is on the sides, and then you can go through the skin as you're cutting through the rest of the tomato. Those kind of challenges, you'll kind of figure those things out too as you go, the more you use it. But it really is an awesome tool, and it really gets a lot done fast. I mean, imagine if you had this full of onions to make a big pot of chili or something, a couple minutes and you're done, as opposed to, you know, you can do it all with a knife, you can do it all with a really good knife really fast, but still, food chopper makes it go a lot faster. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Okay, then we're going to talk about manual food processor, MFP. I have to tell you, when I started 20-some years ago with Pampered Chef, it was because of the food chopper. I saw it, I had to have it, I thought it was the most amazing thing ever made. I hid vegetables on my kids, and, you know, because I could make them really, really small and fit them into stuff that they couldn't find them in. So that was my favorite thing. And it still is a great tool, and I still use it, but I don't use it as much because of its big brother, the manual food processor. This does a lot more of what I need it to do. So it's become my go-to over the food chopper. And I feel kind of guilty saying that, but only because I found something that I make better use of. So this is the manual food processor, also very simple, little cup, little blade, okay, and there's actually a storage cover, so if you're making like fresh salsa or something like that, you just take the blade out and just store the whole thing right in the fridge until, you know, if you're prepping something ahead. Then the other piece is this plunger top. So it's kind of the same idea as the chopper. It's going to be hand driven, and it's going to be controlled in terms of, how much of how fine of a chop you're going to get. Let me do a little bit just want to show you like chopping the same thing. Okay, so here's some of the zucchini. And as far as prepping it to go in here, you know, obviously you want to cut the ends off and so forth, but just cut it into chunks like you were putting it in a stew or something. That's, you know, just stuff that'll fit in here is what you need, okay? So it's just going in there like that. And there's a little hexagon right there in the center of this blade, and that has to fit on the lid. So sometimes when you've got this loaded up, that gets a little off kilter, and you'll go to process and there won't be anything happening. Try to make it happen. Here we go. That means you don't have it locked in place. So you just kind of straighten up the blade and put this on. It usually falls right in where you want it to be. So, okay, can you see that? I've got coarsely chopped zucchini. I forgot what it was. Now I've got more finely chopped zucchini. So it's same thing. The more I go with this, the finer it's going to be. I'm going to clean it out because what I was going to make doesn't have any zucchini in it. The thing that, you know, so this is going to accomplish the similar things to the food chopper as far as just prepping vegetables for cooking. Fine chop, coarse chop, however you want it, quickly, easily. You can do a lot at a time. This, you can do about 2 cups at a time and just dump it into wherever you need it. So same thing, mass production, mass chopping. Just that part is very similar. This will do all the same kind of vegetables. This will also do the green onions that the food chopper struggles with. And the beauty of it with mushy things like, you know, older tomatoes and stuff like that is they're all going to be contained in here as opposed to splattering on your cutting board. So depends on whether that's an issue for you or not. What I'm going to do is show off something that this does that the food chopper can't, and that's blend, okay? I'm going to make a salad dressing for tonight. This is totally off the cuff. I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'll tell you if it tastes good or not when I'm done with it, but it just sounded good. So first of all, I'm going to chop a single clove of garlic. That's possible. And troubleshooting kind of things with this. I told you about the blade being off kilter. The other thing would be overfilling, like the food chopper. Same thing, you'll go like this and nothing will happen, you know, it'll kind of jam. Just take a couple pieces out and you'll be ready to go again. The other thing with this, similar to the chopper, is you can be shy with it and it's not going to be as effective. This happens a lot when I have it at parties and somebody wants to come up and play with it. They're very careful. They don't want to break my tools. So they're just, you know, gently going like this. It's a lovely process, but it's not going to accomplish much. You need to really kind of pump it faster, because faster it moves, the faster the blades go, the more the food flies around and hits the blades, the faster it chops. So if you feel like this is not chopping the way you'd like it to, pick up your pace a little bit. And also make sure that the handle, when you're pumping, actually comes down to the base, as opposed to, you know, like this. Because that gives it a full rotation of the blade, okay? So now I've got completely pulverized garlic in here. And I'm just going to make like a, I don't know what you would call this, creamy tomato balsamic something, okay? So I've got some chunks of this overripe tomato here. Throw those in there. And I've also got some basil. And if you're making anything in here that you're blending ingredients like this, like a fresh salsa or guacamole or bruschetta, anything like, or salad dressing, whatever, the hard things you want to do first. So the let's just say salsa, so I can just list off a couple things. If you're making salsa, you want to do the pepper and the garlic and the onion first. Okay, put them in here and process them until you get them the way you want them to be, and then add the tender things like the tomatoes and the herbs, because you don't want to pulverize those while you're getting the vegetables, the hard vegetables chopped. So kind of do it in stages. So that's why I did the garlic first, because you could very well end up with just a giant chunk of garlic if you're just working on that with the tomatoes and everything in there. So I processed the garlic first, and then I threw the tomato and basil in here. Okay, and this, like I said, was kind of a bruised old tomato, but it's chopping it up really nice. It smells really good with that basil in there. Oh my gosh. I don't really need to make it into anything else. We could just use it like this, have our little bruschetta. I'm going to throw some balsamic in there. All right, and I'm going to, a little bit of our, what did I pick out? Bell pepper and herb rub, because that just is a good, this kind of seasoning. So a little bit of that in there. I think this is going to be good. We'll see. And then to make like a creamy dressing, I use a little bit of Greek yogurt to give it some thickness, some consistency, and then buttermilk. And we'll see what happens here. Anybody wants to come over for a salad? We've got some grilled chicken. We've got some nice stuff. There's some zucchini, I guess, that we're going in there. You know, this is something that the food chopper, or the food chopper couldn't do because you can't blend in it. So if you're never going to make salad dressing or salsa or anything in your life, the chopper might be the answer. But if you want to do something like this, that's how easy it is to make salad dressing. If you've never done that, this is even a complicated one. It's really worth doing. It's really worth doing. There's no 7-mile long list of ingredients, mystery chemicals that go into your salad dressing that comes in the jar. This is just nice and fresh and easy. But anyway, so this is what the processor will do that the food chopper can't do. That was a lot of talking. I hope I answered some questions, did some troubleshooting for you. If you have more questions, please sound off. Albina, thank you for the idea. A little something coming in the mail for you this week. And thanks. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care.